Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this. And totally redeem yourself!
You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
The World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion of the world.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Mr. Green, and surprisingly, if you didn't get it from the opening, I guess, clip that I put at the beginning of this, I was turned around and immensely and surprisingly happy with the episode that just aired for a while over this past weekend as I'm recording right now. You are listening to the Rights and Wrongs Pro Wrestling Podcast with your host, as I stated earlier. This is Mr. Green. And, you know, I'm going to go through a few items and then we'll just slide right on into the review for a while. And believe me when I tell you that I am as shocked as you may be hearing me say that I was pleased with the episode. Because I seem to have developed some, I don't want to say reputation, but I'm expected to just crap on it or dislike it or whatever the case may be. And I promise I don't do that on purpose. I just call the stuff that I feel like, okay, this doesn't make any sense. This is wrong. The continuity's off and so on and so forth. I have been very consistent in that point of view. It is almost always inconsistency in the continuity of the show, the logic of the show, things like that. But, you know, I don't want to get ahead of myself. This is the opening, and I don't want to skip over anything before I get to the meat of the review. So, that being said, let's touch on a few news topics that are relative in the world of women's wrestling. Then we can move forward and go into the review. One of the things that needs to be brought up for you international wrestling lovers is Stardom has announced a U.S. Dream show in April. For those who don't know, I'm pretty sure you mostly do, that Stardom is the Japanese female promotion. It is listed, well, they being New Japan Global, they announced on X, I don't even like saying that, Twitter, we'll go back to call it Twitter, announced earlier today at TDC Hall, Stardom is coming to Philly. American Dream 2024 in the Keystone State is April 4. Tickets on sale today, 1 p.m. Eastern. So the announcement has been made that they will be coming back. So, I mean, maybe you might want to take a journey there and go check it out or catch the streaming show. But it, as listed, will be here in the United States, in Philly, on April the 4th. So that is something to look forward to. And, you know, they are going to kill it in the show. I've watched a couple of Stardom matches, and they do not wrestle light. That's for sure. They do not. They give their all when they're in the ring. So you can definitely say you might not understand necessarily the plot lines, for lack of a better term, or something like that, but you understand what's going on bell to bell. Also in the news, All Elite Wrestling has a new roster member. The former Impact Wrestling Knockouts champion, Deonna Purrazzo, the Virtuosa, has become All Elite. Now, congratulations to Deonna Purrazzo, first off. I as much as I enjoyed her in Impact Wrestling, now TNA again, as much as I enjoyed her there, she probably has done everything that she can do. She's done so much in Impact Wrestling. I mean, it has truly been a rejuvenation of her wrestling career. I mean, because we know that she went to the WWE first. She was in NXT. They cut her loose. I don't think that she did anything of any major significance other than some people remember her being squashed by Nia Jax, but that's pretty much it. She really didn't do all that much. And probably for a lot of the same reasons that we talk about other wrestlers. Like sometimes they being the WWE and others hire people before they're ready to be there. But when she was cut loose, she found a landing place at Impact Wrestling. She got there in 2020. You know, it was an unfortunate time during the world, granted. But she got there in 2020, and she was able to redefine who the Virtuoso is and who Deonna Purrazzo is, and she just rejuvenated herself. I mean, just, what's that, 3 years that she was there? Just think about the things that she was able to do and accomplish in Impact Wrestling during that time. She won the Knockouts Championship 3 different times. She was one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions with Chelsea Green before she left. They did the tournament once. I don't think they revisited it. But in 2021, she was the homecoming. It was just part of the homecoming king and queen with Matthew Renwald. Hard for me to say it, but y'all will remember him from the Vaudevillains. She was also at the same time, she had the AAA Reina de Reyes Championship. She was the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. And now keep in mind, if I remember that correctly, she won the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship before it was acquired by AEW and Tony Khan. She was, pretty much a belt collector. That's at that point. She had really just gone around and saved for the WWE. Most places she was looked at as, okay, she's got this belt. She got that one. She just painted such a beautiful picture of her body of work. Never mind the fact that, like I said, she got to go to other places. She competed on the NWA Empower pay-per-view, which, unfortunately, I don't think it did exceptionally great in the numbers because they haven't revisited it. But she got to compete on that, defending and representing Impact Wrestling, taking on Melina in what was a really good match. I mean, emotionally speaking, because those people wanted to see Melina succeed, and unfortunately, the heel just got over on her. But it was really good. All of that to say that I really think that she has done everything that she really could do in Impact Wrestling / TNA. I hate to see her leave the company, but it's probably time for her to leave the company. So I wish Purrazzo the best going into AEW. Hopefully she will continue her rise, and maybe they can fix the women's division, because I certainly don't think that is perfect yet. It needs some retooling. But cheers to her and congratulations, bravo. Speaking of Impact Wrestling, and just one last thing I want to say about Purrazzo before I move off of it. I said in the last podcast that Trinity seems like she was having the time of her life and enjoying what she was doing and whatnot. Same thing I think qualified for Purrazzo. Like it really put a new chapter, a new coat of paint on her. But getting back to Impact Wrestling, and speaking of which, they are coming up on another big event. I think this is the return, the official return of the TNA name and logo. And what comes with that, but the Ultimate X match. Not just any Ultimate X match, it's the Ultimate X match for the Knockouts. And what do we have with that? We got a couple of names that are announced to participate in. I think the first one being the winner of the first ever Knockouts Ultimate X, Tasha Steelz. She will be back in action January 13th to take on, her competitors, which will include Jody Threat. She's been added to the matchup, and Zaya Brookside. She will be making her TNA debut at Ultimate X, which I would think is, I don't know if that's the match you want to make a debut in, but hey, you do what you got to do. All of that to say that it's looking up for a lot of things. Purrazzo's career, Stardom's coming here. There's an Ultimate X match that's on the horizon with some really talented young ladies. There's a lot of stuff that I really want to watch, and I'm getting somewhat excited for it, quite honestly. As a side note, is when you have matches like this, where I say it makes it very difficult for a while to pass off their no holds barred, non-sanctioned as this massive threat. It's kind of difficult to do that because, quite honestly, they just don't exist in a world where they're the only game in town anymore. They did 20 years ago, but that just is not a thing now. So if I were in that company, I would really be asking, can we retool some of this and maybe amp it up just a little bit so they can look like this is a brutal contest? But that's neither here nor there. I'm getting off track. I'm going into knockouts. I'm going into Wildland a little early. So let's get back to finish up what I was talking about. It has been reported that Trinity Fatu is expected to make a return to the WWE. She's, from what I understand or what I've read, she's soon to be a free agent. So that being reported would give me the impression that she's probably signed for a year, with Impact Wrestling. But it is, first, I'm not mad about that at all, because I don't think anybody here listening or otherwise felt like this was going to be the place that she was going to stay forever. I just didn't see that. I didn't see that, okay, she's in Impact and she's going to stay in Impact. I do think that Impact gave her what she needed when she needed it. New motivation, not necessarily new coat of paint, because the presentation is pretty much the same. But the motivation is different. Got something to prove. I have other avenues to explore. I have other people to have matches against. I got no new places that I can go. Like I said before, when she was part of the Glow Guns with Chris Sabin, she put that on her Instagram like, this is one of the most fun things I've ever got the chance to do in the wrestling business. And I thought that spoke volumes. It's like she's been in the wrestling business a long time. And if she meant what she said, the fact that she got to do that, it spoke a lot of volumes. But anyway, getting back to the possibility of her leaving, no specific date has been disclosed about when she would be free. But assumably, if it's a year contract, she signed in, or she debuted somewhere in April of last year. So it is very possible that if it's a year time, that we will be coming up on it in this coming April. And that's just my speculation. This is not anything that's been written or reported that I have found. However, I will speculate on this also. Mercedes Moné is still out and about. I do not think that Impact has the money, quite honestly, to get Mercedes Moné in. But in some off chance that she finds herself in Impact Wrestling, even if it's just for one-off, I think that would create the motivation for Trinity to stay, at least for an extension. Because to have the two of them show up at, say, Bound for Glory and wrestle for the Knockouts Tag Team Championships, which at this point, if they're taking on MK Ultra, that might be a match. That sounds good. But anyway, if they were there to take on MK Ultra, go for the Tag Team Championships, I think that could motivate an extension to a contract or agreement that they may have. I do think that there is something to be said for the amount of freedom that is offered, less stress, less travel, and things like that. Now, yes, if you're looking for the money, WWE is where you got to go. But I don't think that it is as hard-pressed an issue as some others may think. Her husband's there. She has an in. I'm not saying that he can get her hired. And that doesn't mean just because your husband there that you have to be there. I mean, how many married wrestling couples do we know? Maybe like me saying Mickie James has to go back to WWE now because her husband's there. No, she didn't have to. They've worked separate for quite some time. And Trinity can do the same. I just feel like there's potentially less stress on her going back to the company opposed to exploring what else she may have to offer in an Impact. Because what she's gaining off of them is a new reputation. It's no longer a case of, well, WWE is all you know. You know, she's got the chance to try something else. She's got the chance to be the champion someone else. She's got the chance to be the foundation of an entire division right now. Whereas she did have the championship in WWE, but it never really felt like she was the focal point. There was always a Charlotte. There was always a Becky Lynch. There was always a Bayley. And, you know, a Sasha Banks. There was always those things. Here, she is the show. You know, yes, will she have people that are considered better wrestlers than her that pop in and out of there? Probably. But she has got the chance to really show herself and showcase what she can do. Not Naomi, but Trinity. She was able to give Trinity a name, able to give her some status, and able to be the star that she could be, even on the smaller scale. Even if it was just on a smaller scale, she got the chance to be the one that this division can revolve around for a little while at least. I just don't think that is necessarily over. It wouldn't surprise me if she pops back, but it would be nice if they had a little reunion of sorts. Now that's fantasy booking. That is absolute fantasy booking. I have nothing that would lend me to believe that Mercedes Moné is going to pop up in Impact Wrestling. But yeah, like I said, it's just a little bit of fantasy booking. That's it. And lastly, before we move on, we talked about the WWE, so I think it's fair to address that reportedly there's a former Women's World Champion who is on the WWE's radar. And that person is Camille, the former NWA Women's World Champion, who had one of the longest reigns that, certainly in modern day, that the NWA Women's Championship has seen. At 812 days, she reigned as the champion. According to House of Wrestling, it's been noted that the WWE, or at least someone that is within the WWE, has said that she is high on the company's radar. And, you know what, they're super high on is the word that they use, but they're high on the company's radar. And that due to the merger, the UFC and WWE, they're pretty much in acquisition mode. TKO being the umbrella company. But they're looking, they're in acquisition mode and they're looking to get new talents to pop in that can make an impact. And apparently she is one of the ones that they are looking at. So hopefully she can do something. And it would be interesting to see her pop in. Now with Camille, that's going to be a different story than, in my opinion, than what we got with Jade Cargill. Now, if you've listened to me, I've said when she went over there, she does not need to be jumping right into the main roster, which she did not. They found out that she probably needs to be trained some more because she was just pushed out there and not ready for the little things. Because you can teach people to do the moves, but not necessarily the psychology. And that's not me talking. That is almost every other old school trainer that I've had the opportunity to sit down and talk to at any point. If you talk to them about training at some point in time, they're going to tell you, they're like, well, the training is for this. How to think about the business, how to think about wrestling, how to, address yourself in the ring. It's like they're going to teach you how to, work for the hard cam and how to work for the audience and this, that, and the other. But, the instincts that you have beyond that, those are the things that, you start learning, not just always in a school either. Sometimes you got to learn that during the house shows or small independents or wherever the case may be. I don't think that Camille is going to walk into that if I don't want to make it sound like she's going. But if she does go, I don't think that she's going to walk into that situation as unprepared as Jade Cargill was. Camille has been on the independent circuit for quite some time. In fact, when I first came across her or first saw her wrestle in person, it was at Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, and she was Camille Cage, and she was wrestling in her football gear. That's probably one of the things that's not really known about her is that she played football for the Atlanta Explosion, which was, they no longer call themselves the Lingerie League. And they no longer wear legitimate lingerie. They just wear really skimpy sports attire. So make of that what you will. But that's how she was introduced. She kind of came in wearing that. And it just evolved and she changed and, dropped the cage and just became Camille. So we will keep an eye out for that as well. Before we go into WoW, or fully into WoW, we're going to go, and I did not expect me to have to come across this soon. I just went over ratings for the program not all that long ago, but now we've got ratings for the special that WoW just ran. If you were not aware of it, I think I talked about it the last time, but the special that was aired, presented by ET Entertainment Tonight, Inside and Ringside, WoW Women of Wrestling. Yes, and I remember I talked about it last episode now just because of the title. But WrestleNomics provided the TV rating for this special as it aired on December 27th. So I think before we go into the review of the show that just passed, let's just address the rating so we can move forward. Again, this rating is provided by WrestleNomics and Brandon Thurston. And I will read this off. I didn't go through my own personal notes with this. I'm just going to take it directly from WrestleNomics. A special on Women of Wrestling series titled E.T. Inside and Ringside WoW aired on Wednesday night on broadcast network The CW from 8 to 9 p.m. I'm going to stop right there just for a second and just say this. If you didn't get a chance to see it air, it is on the CW app. So, if you want to go track it down, that's where you would have, well, I'm not going to say you have to, but that's where you can go. Which also reminds me, it's funny to see that they're advertising the NWA on their thing. I don't even think most people know that NWA is airing on the CW app. But really, if it's on the CW app, they might as well just stay on YouTube. They probably got more people watching it there. Anyway, back to the ratings, back to WrestleNomics. The show averaged 179,000 viewers and a 0.04 in the 18 to 49 demo. That's the 18 to 49 demo rating, according to a Nielsen source. About 1/3 of the audience within the 18 to 49 were women. Total viewership for the special, as well as the percentage of women in the demo, were lower than for WoW in syndication. The special went head-to-head with the first hour of AEW Dynamite on TBS, which had its highest 18 to 49 audience since September. WoW in syndication in November averaged 279,000 viewers. In the demo, it averaged a 0.04 in 1849 rating for the month, equal to what Wednesday's special delivered. Among half of WoW syndication audience in the demo are women. They did repeat that. Viewership for WoW special was lower than the total viewership than what the CW had been doing on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. according to Spoiler Data TV, or Spoiler TV Data. I auto-corrected that and put that in reverse in my mind. But yeah, according to Spoiler TV Data, but comparable in the 18 to 49. And now these are the listings for the preceding specials in the same time slot to illustrate the difference in the rating. Now keep in mind, the WoW special rating averaged 179,000 viewers, and in the demo it was listed at 0.04 between the 18 to 49 demo. So the ratings for those that preceded. On December 20th, Christmas Around the USA, this was listed as a rerun, averaged 430,000 viewers and a 0.04 in the 18 to 49 rating, demo rating. On December 13th, Sullivan's Crossing averaged 371,000 and a 0.03. On December 6th, the Republican presidential primary debate had a much bigger audience than the normal for CW in prime time at 2,303,000 and a 0.27. And on November 29th, Sullivan's Crossing averaged 531,000 viewers and a 0.06. WoW's special, unfortunately, did not do well for them. Now, that's not to say that we won't see another special. I did talk about this in the previous podcast. I said if you didn't watch it, but if you saw, say, the My Road to WoW or their Histories of Women's Wrestling documentary, if you saw either one of those, then you've seen this. It's condensed to about 40 minutes without the commercials. But that's what it is. It's pretty much that. And an overall infomercial for WoW. But this is one of those things that, unfortunately, because of how either they tape, how it's edited, or both, does not allow them to do real world advertising for specials that they may or may not have. I mean, it would take a lot of planning. I mean, and I'm talking a lot of planning in order to get this advertised on their pre-recorded show that they probably did months ahead of time. Like I said, unfortunately for them, it didn't go well. I don't know how you can spend an average of 179,000 people in CW prime time as a good number. I can't see it, and especially when they lay it up against the things that happened and preceding it for the month, not even the year, for the month. I mean, the biggest gap in ratings or viewership, I should say, is the December 13th airing of Sullivan's Crossing, which is 371. That puts them somewhere around 200,000 people distance, or maybe a little less, like maybe 190. But still, that's a significant number. those numbers, you should be able to get that just in your city. Quite honestly. Like that kind of number, you should be able to do just in LA or higher. There's millions of people there. Just like here, there's millions of people here. You should be able to get those numbers just in that. But what that would tell me is that there isn't a lot of people who just wanted to see it. The fans that did want to see it probably didn't know that it was airing. It wasn't slotted in a good place for this, quite honestly. This is in the Christmas season. And, this is after Christmas, December 27th. So it's probably a couple of things that's working against that. But at the same time, I don't know if this is something that ET or, the CW, probably certainly not the CW because NXT is scheduled to move there in prime time in the fall. But I don't know if this is something that they would want to repeat. Unless they have some wheeling and dealing that could go on behind the scenes. And, I doubt David McClain could do it, but I think that Jeannie Buss could pull some strings and, let us air or something else or let us get a special or something along those lines. It'll probably have to be on a different network than the CW beginning in the fall at least. But as much as I want to encourage and praise the upcoming review, this special, it fell short. Ratings wise. I'm not talking about how they constructed it, but it fell short ratings wise. I don't think there's any way that could possibly be spun to be like, well, it's fine. But again, this is what happens when you have a show that has marathon tapings that they are not able to get out in a fashion where they can do an update. If there ever was a case to be made for paying your editors an extra amount of money to be able to throw something in there at the last minute and then get it shipped out. Because let's be honest, we're not shipping out tapes now. They're forwarding these things, they're emailing it through you basically, or some other form of data transfer. If there was a case to be made, this is it. Because they should have been able to advertise this. That is the one thing that I can say that probably did not help. Is that WoW, as far as I can remember, didn't mention a word of it. They didn't say, hey, be sure to check out our special coming up on ET or, the CW. That just didn't happen. So, you're not informing your audience of that so that they can seek it out. And even at worst case scenario, it probably should have been advertised on more than just the Instagram. They had a lot of that. They had a lot of their girls saying, hey, we're going to be on this. And, they put up the social media posts and all that stuff. So I can't say that they ignored it. They didn't ignore it. They had a lot of social media that was pushing for this particular special. However, maybe, just maybe, you cut a video for it and you tell people, on your YouTube, have a video ready. This is going to air. Put this up. So, that's just my 2 cents. So anyway, we go into the meat of the show. This is WoW episode 68 and 216 when we're counting for the season. The title of the show, Welcome Back. The air date for me was the 30th of December, 2023. We're past 23 now, and I didn't even say it at the beginning of the show. Happy New Year, fellas and ladies. Ladies and fellas and ladies, Happy New Year to you. And thank you for listening through the time that you've listened. Quite honestly, I think I should be saying that as well. The first thing that I wanted to make note of with the show as much as I liked it, they probably suffered from some somewhat bad luck. This is going into the holiday weekend. This particular program. This is going into New Year's celebrations, New Year's Eve, and so on and so forth. And because of that, you had a lot of holiday-themed specials, year recaps, and stuff like that. In some cases, the show was bumped. Some cases, the time slot was changed. Some cases, the show was just taken off the air in general so that something else could run in its place. I can say firsthand that in Philly, the station that I had some working ties to, WOW aired it an hour earlier. So if you didn't know that, what you were going to walk into was the World Tag Chase, which I didn't even know was a thing. I had no idea. I was like, what is this? And just as a sidebar, the World Tag Chase is like parkour tag you're it. You know, that's kind of what it is they spend an hour with these guys, and I'm not knocking what they did because their ability to leap through these pipes and slide around and all that stuff is amazing. But no, I had no idea that this was airing up until the point that it aired, or up until the point that I looked at the playlist. The World Tag Chase, which aired on WPSG in Philly, it took WOW's time slot, and it pushed WOW ahead an hour. And I know some other places, well, like I said, WOW was not airing at all. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of that. Did it really muck up their ratings that much more? We'll have to look, and again, time will tell. So the show begins with the commentators introducing themselves, as they probably should. People need to know who they are. I cannot even begin to be mad at Nigel Zane here. He I don't know, maybe his presentation is just better, but he just comes off as a better commentator in this instance to me than what Dickey had done previously. All due respect to Stephen Dickey, but Nigel Zane is doing a really good job, in my opinion. As they're talking, McLean sets up the return and entrance of Jesse Jones and Amber O'Neal. They come out, and this started to show off just right for me. They get into the ring, and they are cutting a promo. And it's not one of those generic promos. It's not one of their 30-second promos. It's not one of the typical, wow, we're coming after the title promos. No, this is a personal issue. And I loved it. I loved the fact that it was a good heel promo. Amber O'Neal got on that microphone, and she gave everybody the reasons why she's there. And that's all you can ask for out of these promos. That is what I've been saying for pretty much a year now. The promos didn't mean anything. You didn't, never went anywhere. If they got the chance to speak at all, it was super minimized. This was none of that. The entire segment is a promo. Yes, did it have a little bit of action in it? Sure. But the entire segment is a promo. To put this in perspective, and I'm going to use their own YouTube page to illustrate some things. As it stands right now, as I am talking, the viewership for their promo segment, which is about 7 minutes, 3.4 thousand views. Okay? That is where they are right now. Chainsaw versus Holidead, which was uploaded 3 days ago, 2 days prior to this clip, is at 1.9. Genesis versus Kandy Krush, also uploaded 2 days before this talking segment, is at 2.5. Gloria Glitter versus Stephy Slayz, again, also 3 days prior to this clip, they had a 2-day head start. 3.3 thousand viewers. They're the closest right now. And the one that exceeds that, guess what? The match that the segment that's talking is addressing. Jessie Jones and Amber O'Neal, Grits N Glam, versus the new All-American Girls are at 4.5 views. That was 2 days ago. So with the exception of the match that they're talking about, they've outdone, performance-wise, every other clip that has gone up. Now, that's certainly not a knock on Chainsaw and Holidead or Genesis and Kandy Krush or Gloria Glitter and Stephy Slayz. I actually enjoyed this show from top to bottom. But it does stand to be said, like, you know, maybe you should explore this and let some of the people that can talk and not give them this scripted, overly dramatic verbiage or cutting down the things that they're saying to get it done in 30 seconds. No. This gave real, not stakes, but it gave you a real reason to understand why this person's here, why she came back, and then later on, why Santana Garrett came back. All of these things. And she had the line of the night. So I flew out to Los Angeles, city of hell. And that's somebody that knows how to work the crowd there, because the second she said it, you heard the boos kicking in. But, you know, and that's why I say, look, I understand that WoW is positioning itself as a worldwide entity, but and I don't mean this as an insult, but it's an independent promotion with a lot of money. It's centered and focused to Los Angeles and things within Los Angeles. And it doesn't need to do anything more than that. I mean, they don't need to try and make it sound like we're worldwide. No, just be Los Angeles. It works for them. This works for you. Stick with that. I don't even know if I would go around calling the WoW Championship a World Championship yet. They can. It's not going to hurt. I mean, this is just my personal opinion. I think they get just as much mileage off of it just calling it the WoW Championship. It doesn't go anywhere. It's pretty much a Los Angeles-based title. So stick with it. You know, just a thought. But this is great heel promos. Jessie Jones got a chance to get up on the mic too, and we all know that she's good. Americana comes out and she, you know, starts yammering with Jessie Jones. She's still somewhat monotone. She is still somewhat monotone in her delivery, but she didn't take up the segment. Jessie Jones came out there and interacted with her to move that along. Santana Garrett comes out. The crowd actually does welcome back chants. Now, whether the welcome back chants for Santana were coached to the crowd or they genuinely knew who she was or somebody just held up a sign and say this, I don't know. But either way, it sounded good on TV. It made it look like, oh, okay, she must have been there before. These people know who she is. Opposed to, you know, the Abilene Maverick thing where they tried everything in their power in the commentating booth to make it seem like it was a big deal. Santana Garrett's return felt more like a big deal. Not huge, but it felt like a bigger deal than, you know, than her colleague, Abilene Maverick. She got a chance to speak. She got a chance to explain why she was gone. She got the chance to say why she came back. It was a genuine, heartfelt promo, and it made this segment. The three people that got the chance to talk, all due respect to Americana, she just isn't there yet. But this is where she needs to be. I will add that. This is why I say I don't even mind that she came out and felt a little monotone, because she is in the company of people that if she is willing to learn it, she's in the company of three veterans that can get her there or at least help. Amber O'Neal, Jessie Jones, Santana Garrett. All of them just being around them should help Americana grow as a pro wrestler. Not just in the ring, psychology, how she presents on the microphone, how she presents just standing there. All of them, could, if she is willing to pick up the traits, she can get there and she can learn from them. And to add on to that, having Santana Garrett there and basically reinstituting the All-American girls, the new All-American girls, we'll call them, it takes the impression of Americana being a Santana Garrett wish list wrestler. It takes that off of the table because she's there with her now. It's not like, well, we have this person and the original's gone, so we just make a new one. The original came back. She's with the person that was kind of viewed as a clone, but now they're tagging. The looks are similar. The style, the body build is similar. Americana even uses Santana Garrett's finish, or at least she did. This removes all idea of, you're just ripping her off the table, because now there's a silent endorsement. She came back. She came to save her. And I was fully prepared to be like, well, why did she just show up out of the blue and nowhere? Didn't just without any rhyme, reason, explanation. I was fully ready to say that, but then she goes into this promo and explained it. I prefer a small explanation rather than none at all, and she gave that. So, bravo. And matter of fact, I am going to leave this spot here just open because if you didn't get a chance to hear it, I want you to hear the promos that were cut between these three so you can get the feel of what I'm saying. I think that deserves to be there. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to lean in and I'm going to give this promo a little run, and then we'll move on to the next thing.
Talking to you,
David McClain, long time no see. Sorry to barge in uninvited and unannounced, but I'm O Neal. I'm a wild superhero legend, and I don't need an invitation, and I don't care if you like it or not.
Well, you didn't have to come in the way she
because
did.
The reason I'm here is a good reason. I was sitting at home watching Wild Superheroes, the newer episodes, the ones I've not been on, and that was not the Jessie that I remember when I left here. And all of a sudden, this little voice popped inside of my head, and it said, Amber. And I said, what? And it said, you need to fly to Los Angeles, the city of hell, and you're going to have to remind Jessie Jones exactly who she is and where she came from. So I got on that plane, and while I'm flying to Los Angeles, that little voice popped inside of my head again, and it said, Amber, and I said, what? And it said, Jessie Jones is distracted. She's distracted by a rookie and a little bratty kid, and you need to convince her to get rid of that distraction. And before I could even respond to this little voice, it said, Amber, and I said, what? Are you going to help Jessie Jones get rid of that distraction? Are you going to convince her to get rid of that distraction? And I said, oh, hell yeah.
Little Levi's not a brat.
Now that's ridiculous.
And that's exactly what we did.
That's right. That's right, David. I may have spent the last year here kissing babies and making nice with old ladies, but that ends today. Because my real friend came back and showed me who I am. And who I am is someone who is sick and tired of walking the line and still not being given what I deserve.
Well, what you deserve?
So from now on, I'm going to take it. And there's nothing you, Americana, or her snot-nosed little brat can do about it.
We didn't need comments like that about little Levi. And And that's all due to
Jessie Jones!
Oh, wait a second.
Hold it.
How could you? You were my friend.
This is Americana.
I looked up to you, Jessie. My son looked up to you.
Little Levi.
I thought you were a role model.
Yeah. They became friends in Kentucky.
You are not who I thought you were.
No, she isn't. But this may be the true her, Nigel.
Wait a second. Wait a second.
What's
David.
happening?
Look at.
Americana,
Oh, Jessie's.
you're right. I was not your friend, and I wasn't a good role model. And I'm going to continue to not be.
I thought Jessie Jones had gotten better of her decision to realign with Amber O'Neal, and yet again another low blow.
And the two of them are beating down Americana.
This is uncalled for, David. Jessie Jones has already proven her point. There's no reason to do this.
Americana. There is no reason for this.
She's already done enough by betraying her trust, talking about her son. I mean, this is ridiculous. Amber O'Neal setting up for a super kick.
Hold it. It's Santana Garrett.
Santana Garrett, former WOW World Champion, former Tag Team Champion, in to clear the ring and help Americana, but why is she out here?
Yeah, Santana Garrett is here.
What is she doing here?
Santana Garrett. She, of course, was the former tag team partner of Amber O'Neal years ago. And Amber O'Neal turned on her with a briefcase handed to her at the time by Sophia Lopez in a double cross with Lana Star. Santana Garrett is here. Why?
What's she doing here now, David? That's the question. What is Santana doing here? Why now? Why tonight? I'm sure glad she came out to help Americana. It's certainly a blessing to see her back in the WOW ring. As you can see, the fans are just super excited to see the former champion back in the ring.
Santana Garrett is back. Welcome back, the fans are shouting.
One of the most popular roster members in WOW history, Santana Garrett. She's got a microphone. You can tell she's touched by the reception.
A lot of people have been asking where I've been and what's next for Santana Garrett. For those of you who don't know, shortly after my last WOW event, I experienced the devastating loss of my best friend, my biggest supporter, my dad. And with that loss, I lost myself.
Wow, fans just giving her the support. Of course, a tough loss for Father TNT, Kenny G.
And it wasn't until I was at home watching WOW Superheroes and I saw the beatdown of none other than Amber O'Neal and Jessie on Americana. And I knew at that very moment, this is where I needed to be. So David, I'm asking you, I'm begging you, give me this match.
Oh, yeah.
What do you say, David?
You want the match, Santana?
Amber O'Neal and Jessie Jones versus the All-American Girls.
That was the promo from Amber O'Neal, Jessie Jones, Americana, Santana Garrett. Three of them, I think you should really pay attention to it. Americana's going to have to work out a little bit, but still, I enjoyed the segment. The next segment and the first match of the show, this was Stephy Slayz versus Gloria Glitter, and I wrote down this is clearly a squash match, but, most of this match was spent by the commentators addressing the rest of the show, quite honestly. And I knew, as I'm sure anybody that has watched this program knew, that the second they said, and it's going to be Stephy Slayz versus Gloria Glitter, you knew who was going to win this match. You immediately knew it. But I did not hate this. I did not. There was nothing in here that I just didn't like. I understood what Gloria Glitter's position was here, and that she was the star that they're going to put over. She's, and Stephy Slayz is there to make her look good or help her look good. Basically, provide a body for Glitter to beat. That's pretty much where she's at, because Stephy's probably a lovely young lady inside and out, but I don't think that she's in a position to, in terms of her in-ring work, to carry Glitter to make her look better. It's probably the other way around. Glitter has been doing this long enough to where she can make Slayz look better, and Slayz just needs to be the body. But in this, like I said, in this case, maybe it was just the start of the show. Maybe the start of the show made me feel so much better about it. I walked into this feeling perfectly fine. Like, okay, I don't see any holes in this match, and I didn't see anything that was like, oh, this is terrible. Why is she doing that? Where did she, like last week, I got on Goldie Collins like, why on earth would you stop in the middle of what you're doing to, address the crowd? Here, I had very little of that, if any. Like, it felt like Steffi at least tried. And she didn't wind up, even if you wanted to label it under heel narcissism with Goldie Collins. I mean, there's not a case, or there is a case to be made for that. The babyfaces that have been trained by Wild do ridiculous stuff like that too. Here, no. And Steffi got a chance to shine in the match. Got to do the monkey flip out the corner and, all that good stuff. She clearly is someone that both, I would say, the management and probably a good chunk of the people that go to Wild shows like. And she's not going to be no world's champion there. I don't think that's ever going to happen with Slayz. She's not going to be some world's champion unless they're going to just suddenly change her entire booking. But she did look comparable here. She was able to keep up with what Glitter was delivering right up until the end. And like I said, Slayz got some time to shine there. Put the heat on Gloria. But after the jackknife pin that Gloria Glitter attempted to do, they both got back up to their feet. Slayz is met by a counter from a clothesline. She takes several knee lifts right into the abdomen, and then boom, she gets pinned with Gloria Glitter's double arm facebuster. I forget what they call it. But it was, like I said, it was a fine match. Nothing to complain. It was a cold match. There's no angle here. There's no storyline here. But this match being one of out of the four without any angle either going into or coming out of, no complaint. This is what it needed to be. The next segment is the Holidead promo. Her promo is the saving grace of this entire angle. The angle that wasn't going anywhere, the angle that didn't mean anything, the angle that just kind of popped up and they never explained it. It was just, they're staring at each other. They're staring at each other again. Here she comes out to stare at her some more. That's all the angle was, primarily. But she, within, how long was this promo? This promo was probably like 2 minutes, maybe. If that. Within that time, she addressed the best she could and condensed her reasoning behind what was going on. And that is all I asked for. Should have happened sooner, but at least she did it. And like I said, it was the saving grace of this match, because otherwise, like I had lost all interest in this match. I didn't care who won or lost. I didn't even know who's the heel and who's the babyface. But this promo did it. It established who is the heel, who's the babyface, the reasons why Holidead stepped up and started interfering, or not interfering, but getting in Chainsaw's way. It gave all of that. And, you know, since we are showing little audio clips, I think now's probably a good enough time to let's go into the audio clip of the promo that Holidead cut to explain her position as to why.
There are many paths on my journey to darkness, violence, rage, anger. But sometimes, on the other side of darkness, a little bit of light seeps in. That doesn't mean my anger or my rage is gonna be subdued. No, no, no. It's just gonna be redirected. Chainsaw, you and I are connected because we both fell to the ugly side of the darkness. But you know, as my light is starting to shine a little bit, I noticed the path you're going down. I noticed you like to pick on the weaker opponent, the smaller opponent, but Chainsaw, violence is equal. I see you want to stay subdued to your chains. I am embracing freedom, and I will embrace my violence on you as my darkness turns to light.
So there it was. And as I said, when you go and you look at the match is pretty methodical. It's played up between two personas that are willing to bend and break the rules. This is another match where Chainsaw's roughness or lack of polish can be construed as a positive. It's nothing overly fancy here, but it's a fun match to see. And I don't think it can be said enough that the promo preceding this match saves this. Rather than it just being another match that didn't have any sort of logical connecting points, having Holidead get in front of a camera. Now, they overdid it with the B-roll, showing Chainsaw with, you know, in the locker room with the lighting and the horror music and all that stuff. They overdid it with that, but if you're just going off of what she said, saves it absolutely. Holidead won this with a spine buster. And the promo gave this match purpose. The next segment was Kandy Krush and Princess Ozzy meeting at the bottom of the infamous Wild Steps. It's a little funny. I mean, I didn't have a problem with this segment, but it's a little funny that all of a sudden that Princess Ozzy lost the championship. She's got time for her. She finally has time for her now. So Kandy Krush asked her, hey, you know, you want to come and watch? I mean, in so many words, do you want to come and watch me wrestle and give me some notes and this, that, and the other? She's like, yeah, sure, I got time. I'm actually going out to the commentator table right now. So again, it's just, to me, it's kind of funny that now that I've lost my championship, sure, I got time for you. Let's go. So they have that. Ozzy finally has time for her friend again. Now that I don't have the burden of being important in the company. This is also back to back with another segment that also takes place at the bottom of the infamous Wild Steps. They need another set. If I have to give any sort of criticism here, they should probably look around that building, find some other place. I don't care where, just something other than these steps. But Genesis has a segment of Ice Cold, and, you know, they're carrying on. Basically, the point of this is, I don't need you to come out to ringside. I just need y'all to watch. Talking about Ice Cold and Exodus. And then she gets to the point, she's like, well, where is Exodus? Ice Cold tells her, well, she didn't want to come out. And that's when it's kind of like, I don't need you and I don't want you here, but you should have been here anyway. You know, it was kind of like that, where she doesn't want to help, but she's upset that Exodus didn't at least show up. They seem like they're going somewhere with Genesis. She keeps getting built into these segments. She's walked past Samantha Smart's army, G.I. Jane and Classmaster, talking about the trios tournament. She's got this little stairway segment with Ice Cold. And I wanted to say that I'm forgetting one. But she has gotten some airtime. She's gotten a chance to express her purposes and her design. And not only that, she got time after the match. Wow. I was legitimately shocked. Like they are, maybe they're going somewhere with this. Maybe they are going somewhere with Genesis fighting to be the lead dog in Exile. So this match is Genesis versus Kandy Krush. And now one of the things that the commentators kept carrying on about was this undefeated streak of Kandy Krush, which I hated that I wrote this out, but yeah, I wrote the commentators may have foreshadowed a loss, but not horrible. And sure enough, they foreshadowed the loss. Like anytime they get up there and they start talking about something like that's out of the blue that they don't talk about anymore, it's like, all right, that becomes a point of reference at some point in the show or the match when they do those things. And this time was not any different. It just pointed out the obvious. Now, keep in mind, when they say undefeated, they only mean undefeated from a certain point. She's not undefeated overall. She's had a loss. She had a loss against Penelope Pink, matter of fact, when she went for the championship. She lost that match. So I don't know if I would carry on about it being undefeated, but, it is what it is. So in any case, the match, it was fine. Kandy Krush has grown. Not perfect, but she's grown. She's done a lot of work in the last couple of months. I still will stand by that they probably need to go elsewhere and learn some different styles and get some other stuff that WoW just will not teach them. But, I'm sure as long as she's good in the WoW universe, then everything's fine. But needless to say, for what they needed to do, and keep in mind, this is not a cold match. Not the first one? Yeah, the first one was cold. Stephy Slayz and Gloria Glitter, but Holidead and Chainsaw had something behind it. Even if it was poorly planned, it had something behind it. This match had some buildup. Kandy Krush had already been on a streak. She had a winning streak, not an undefeated streak. That's probably what he meant to say. And Genesis has been in this angle of needing to prove that I can win on my own. I don't have to be part of a team. I can do this, and I can show you why I am the leader of the group. And this carried that on. I thought they did a fine job here. The highest praise that I can give this entire show before I finish out the end is that it's the closest that I've seen to just old school territory wrestling. Not in terms of how they shot it, but in the context. It's promos and it's matches. And the promos are there to sell the match. Simple. And this episode got it. It got it. So in any case, this is one of the few things that I was saying, wow, felt like, I don't know if they did this with intent or not, but having Kandy Krush go on a winning streak from the point that she lost her championship opportunity to this episode, she had been labeled their gatekeeper and the person that all the new people came up against. And basically, she wasn't in any particular rivalry or feud or anything like that, but they tried to give her some level of importance. Now, I didn't really see that as going anywhere, but whoever decided to rope this into it, I thought this was a good idea to have Genesis, if she's going to go for it and be a credible wrestler, a credible threat, or what have you in a singles environment, her having a few wins is not going to hurt anything. In fact, she needs it. That this is going into the line of doing things for the sake of having reasonable credibility. And this is one of those cases. I honestly cannot say it enough. For all the times that I've given them flack on, not having logical steps or things feeling out of place or continuity or angles that just popped up out of nowhere and then dropped all of a sudden, this particular match, the segments before and the promo after, gave this a level of credibility that I had not seen in a while, in a long time, if not ever. And I have gone through pointing out the promos and whatnot, but the match here is actually fairly solid. I mean, look, it's still a TV match. But it's a TV match that has some purpose behind it. So, why don't we do just a little bit of a watch along here? Why don't we do that? Because, I could stand to sit and watch this one again. It's not going to kill me. So right now, if you decide to go along with me, we're going to put this at 0. This is the Genesis versus Kandy Krush match. It is all zeroed out. Matter of fact, let me refresh the page because I don't want an ad to pop up in the middle of it. So let's try to get the ad out the way. But anyway, what we're gonna do is we're gonna get to the video. We're gonna start it right at 0. So you should be seeing Lauren, was it Hunkel, on the screen right now, getting ready to make her announcement. I noticed that she hasn't had as much loud colors lately either. Like her dress and microphone have been bedazzled, but that's pretty much it. She hasn't really changed it much in recent weeks or months. So anyhow, that was just a minor thing. Okay, so I'm going to give a countdown, and then we're going to hit play on me saying play. All right, so here we are. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, play. All right, so the match is starting up, and she's making her announcement, and here comes Genesis. She's got the pompadour do, and her nunchucks as she just shows off to the fan base. Now, keep in mind, we're going back with the storyline that she is wanting to show her expertise and reinforce that she is the leader, because Exile really hasn't had a definitive leader once Malayo Osaka left. Now, here's the other part of it. Is Princess Aussie, the friend who had time for her friend finally. Princess Aussie joins them on commentary. And like I said, the one drawback that I would say this match had is that it seemed to me like the commentators foreshadowed loss. Didn't ruin the match for me. I'm just saying, by mentioning the winning streak, by bringing it up when they had never did it before, it's like, okay, this seems like they might be planning to see to something important. But here comes Kandy Krush. I am still somewhat waiting on a lawsuit to kick in for her. But I do want to give credit to their change of use of Kandy Krush. I did not like it in the beginning of the season where they had her be over melodramatic and crying about everything. And, it took so much away from her. But now she is there as a fighter. Still lingering on the the boxing thing, but it's all good. So here we go. The match is started up. There's a lockup. There's a nice turnaround. Genesis gets Kandy Krush in the corner, pushing up with the X across the throat. Leg sweep by Krush. Genesis out at the 1. There's a leg sweep on her end, but she holds on to it. Kick off by Krush. Match seems, they might have worked it out, but it seems pretty good so far. A couple of arm drags, and she locks in the arm bar. Genesis is down. And you can see right there, she's applying an arm bar. And one thing I know I said quite a bit about the Team Exile. I really hope that they stay together. I feel like there is a future there as a team. Whether they do that in WoW or someplace else is a different issue. Nice side kick by Genesis. Drapes on the ropes. Now, I don't know what that was supposed to be. That didn't look like it hurt at all. I can only suspend my disbelief so far when she just yanked the rope down. I imagine it's supposed to be like a little ricochet motion to pop back in her throat, but, we'll let it go. So she's kicking her off on the throat, slams the leg, kicking at the thigh, the back of the knee. I mean, she's doing the number here, getting the heat in on Krush. And nice submission hold there. I mean, now that looks good. That looks good. The way that she has her leg tied in, right? The camera should be down a little bit lower. They should be looking at the knees. Roll through, grabs the rope. She, being a good heel, holds on to it for a little while before she lets it go. And there she is, back at the knees. This is good work here. Back at what she was just working on. And that right there is what I was talking about with her when I was using that as an example of her expression. Her facial expressions are always good. Her being Genesis. Drop toe hold, hooks her down. Now she's got a single crab. Her objective here in the match is very singularly focused. There is an order to what she's doing, and it's making Krush work. I love that she has stuck with the knee. She breaks, goes back for it, lifts her up, boom. Look at that. Now she's going for a pin. Of course, she's out. Krush has been one of their primary baby faces over the last couple of months. Over the last year, she's been one of their primary baby faces. And you see Genesis toss up the sign for Exile. Krush fighting herself out of the corner, and now she's using her own arms against, which is a nice touch. And you see Genesis working herself up for the escape. I mean, look, this is good stuff. I mean, it's a fun match. I must admit, this is a fun match that they had here. It's yelling at the referee, allegedly choking her out with her own arm. Well, not really choking her. And then look at the surprise on her face. Like, I can't believe she's doing this. How she's powering out. Little things like that. It's the nuances. She's the expression on her face. Tries to get a big kick in there. Almost a mafia kick. Nice slide through. And look at that. She sold the knee. But back up on her feet. Shot in the stomach. Beautiful facial expressions. Spikes the head right into the mat. And here's Krush. Desperately going for a cover. Not a good cover, but she went for a cover. She hooked the leg. Looks like a little bit of minor communication there, maybe. There she catches the foot, turn around, grabs the arm, hooks it in for what we used to know as the Olympic slam, but here's the lights out. Now, I like the positioning of this, that she got it, and then boom, right there, grabs the bottom rope. It gives Kandy Krush somewhat of an out that she could have won, but she slammed her too close. She slammed her opponent too close to the ropes, which arguably gives her an out. But here again, you got the heel who didn't, do anything overly drastic, but she cheated just enough. Raked the eyes, rolled her up, hooked the tights, got the win. And that is what it's about right there. And immediately Krush rolls out and you see Genesis, raise my hand. She's doing great there. Great stuff. Nothing else can be said or done there. This is really good. After the match, she addresses the crowd, gets on the microphone, and the commentators address that Krush's winning streak is over, of course. But the promos have worked well today, and I was so happy to hear this, that leading into and after she got the chance to get on that microphone and tell her story. I have been preaching let them talk for a year now, and it seems like it has finally settled in. Let them speak, and they've gotten a chance to speak. The next segment has BK Rhythm and Gigi Gianni having a conversation backstage about needing a third member for the Trios tournament. And this is the one I was thinking about. Genesis walks by. They offer it to her. And the seed is planted that, are you really part of Exile? It's like they just did enough. So even in this what would have been a throwaway segment, just a segment there to push the Trios tournament, they went and dropped just a little gem in there to whether or not Genesis legitimately still with Exile. Because they just tease it. Are you really with Exile? Like, they ask her to join. She's like, well, I'm part of a group already, essentially. And that's where we get that little bit. So all of these things are just lining up one after the other from the start to right here is all lining up. It keeps the Trios tournament important. Somebody's out there talking about it. But at the same time, Genesis, who just comes off of a win and had a segment before and a promo after, and now she's walking through the hall and is, hey, what do you think about joining us? These are how you help make stars. They need the exposure. And who knows? I mean, it made me interested. It made me interested in seeing where are they going to go with Genesis at this point. Where are they going to go with Exile, just as an overall thing? The next segment, Wild does a history package on Americana and Jesse Jones' breakup. Now, this video frames Jones as the villain and less of Americana kind of creating her own problems. Now, if you well documented from my podcast that I feel like she created her own problems by doing all the things that she was doing. It didn't make any sense to me. It's not the same thing, but it's kind of like, and I say kind of, I stress that. It's kind of like, you remember when Becky Lynch was supposed to have turned heel when she got her championship match? Finally, she was winning, kind of quietly on SmackDown, and she was going to go into the title match, but then all of a sudden Charlotte shows up, and Charlotte gets shoehorned into the match, and they make it a triple threat, and then everything's fine until Charlotte wins, and now it's like, seriously, this is my match, and Becky turns on it. Becky beats her up, and then Becky cuts the promo, the following show, explaining herself and why she did what she did and why she felt like she felt. And I'm sure they thought that this will make Becky a heel. But no, it didn't. Because everybody understood and they saw it and they sympathized that here I am working hard, trying to get to this spot and trying to, live my dream and win the championship that I've earned. And then all of a sudden, at the last hour, I get a third party tossed in, not because she earned it, but because she just is Charlotte Flair and she can get this just because. Well, that's what, and the company thinking that would make Becky the heel in this environment was all wrong. They read that wrong. That's what it was here with me. Americana can complain to Jesse Jones about, you shouldn't do that. What about Levi? And, on paper, that sounds fine. And maybe if they had done some extra things in between that to push Jesse Jones's lack of a moral fiber, which is basically what they were going for. If they had some things in between that helped push that, then maybe it would have meant something else. But Americana not even attempting to help her partner when she's clearly outgunned didn't do much to help her story. So in this instance, the video package helps. All of that to say that they reframed the story for those who weren't aware of the story. So if you just looked at it on this, it does come across like, and Jessie Jones decided that Americana was holding her back and she turned and yada, yada, yada. So, but that's what TV shows do. You have to frame it the way that you want it framed. I see no problem with this. And as I have said about the editing team on a number of occasions, they're well done. The next segment was the Brat Pack being advertised against the Mother Truckers for next week's show. And that is what it is. The next thing is the main event. Grits N Glam, the reunion of Grits N Glam against the new All-American girls. So we got Jessie Jones and Amber O'Neal as Grits N Glam, and the new All-American girls is Santana, Garrett, and Americana, which is a weird kind of a team when neither one of them have American colors on. But Grits N Glam do, so, go figure. But anyway, they recapped the history of Garrett and O'Neal, which I thought they should do. And this is, again, one of those cases where it is easier and more efficient to recap and showcase people who had significant roles in the company in the past, rather than, and I hate to pick on Abigail Maverick, but Amber O'Neal and Jessie Jones got together as a means of Jessie Jones helping Amber O'Neal out at one point. This has been the favorite return, so it's full circle. And then you go back further than that, where they did this little kind of picture-in-picture recap, where you have Santana Garrett and Amber O'Neal. They showed O'Neal turning on Garrett as they were the tag team champions. So that, that does put some history on them for people who never saw it. And the picture-in-picture was a nice touch if you're paying attention to that. They talk about, Santana Garrett being a former Wild champion, which gives her more weight and credibility. She, too, is a former NWA Women's World Champion, much like Abilene Maverick, but I doubt that they're ever going to bring that up because it's not significant in the Wild universe. As I said at the beginning, people can see Americana's look is very similar to her partner, but having Santana Garrett there as her partner does help deal with the look. They look like they should be tag team partners. So that's fine. Americana still has somewhat comical reactions in the match when she's being choked out and stuff like that. Not quite where she needs to be, but, I will stand by, and I hope that this works itself out to be true. She is where she needs to be, being surrounded by veterans who can probably take her after the match and say, look, why don't you try this, or why don't you do that? This would be good for you, et cetera, et cetera. This is still the position that she should be in. She's not there yet. There was a point in the match where she completely telegraphed the double clothesline spot because she leaped up into the air before it was ready. But that's one of these things that I reiterate, the timing that you come up with, and the anticipation and things of that nature. That's what you get when you wrestle regularly. Doesn't always work out that way, but it does help. It helps that you have somebody that's, well, not somebody, but you get the experience to kind of buffer out your wrestling style. The matches generally was pretty good. And I am so pleased that they didn't polish this off immediately, as WoW will tend to do sometimes. Sometimes they'll start an angle and it'll end right then and there. as in the case of Sahara Spars turning into Amber Rodriguez, and they had the match that day, and it was it. that was it. They just moved on. Here, this match had some competition, and it broke down. It broke down into a brawl at the end of the show, which carried all 4 competitors to the outside, and then they'd start beating up on each other until it was a double countout. The double countout just, was the official ruling. They being the commentators, they did try to make it sound like, we're running out of time, fans, and, if it does go long, we'll do such and such. Well, this isn't the first time that they've implied that or said it, and we know that they're not going to do that. I would be really, really, really surprised if they ever get to a point where it's like, oh, we're running out of time. Well, you're going to have to check with us next week. I don't think no matter what they say that's in the cards for them. If it does, or if it is, I'll be shocked. And I might be pleasantly surprised depending on how it's done. But yeah, double count out. They implied that it might go long. It didn't go long. Wasn't shocked about that there. But I was good with the ending. I was good with that they had a brawl, and that is going to have to be revisited, especially if they can maintain the heat of the feud. If they can maintain having these girls cut promos on each other and things, that help drive the match and make me want to see the match. As it was with the opening segment going to the end of the program. I was like, I want to see the match now. They actually got me interested in seeing how this is going to go. And I wasn't disappointed. It's too soon for them to have a blow off. And neither one of them needs to be walking into a loss. Grits N Glam, yes, they'd been a team before, but they just got back together. They don't need to walk into a loss. Neither do the new All-American girls. They do not need to walk into a loss. Just getting formed right now. They probably could stand to have some other victories on both sides of that fence leading into what is ultimately going to be their blow-off match. But as it is right now, I thought this was a good way for them to get out of it. I thought that this was set up well. I thought the show from top to bottom, because of promos that were instilled in here, helped make the show that much better. Segment 1, like all 4 of them got to talk at some point. And that was the most part of the segment. It wasn't a match. It was just them talking. And it was interesting. Made me want to look at the show. This is everything that I've said. Holidead's promo, like I said before, saved that angle. Didn't even mind that Stephy Slayz and Gloria Glitter was more or less a throwaway match, but it was a fine match. Didn't go anywhere. Didn't serve any purpose other than just to put Gloria Glitter another win in the column. Fine with that. Gigi Gianni and BK Rhythm segment backstage helped hook into the previous match's outcome with Genesis going over on Kandy Krush. All of this was good. Surprisingly, from top to bottom, all of this was good. I might not ever say it again, but this was an A show. Yeah, surprising, isn't it? It may never come back up, but this was an A show, and I am pleased to finally be able to say that it's an A show. Now, that being the case, I am going to read off the preview for next episode. And I'm not going to give any judgment on it because they may surprise me. This one surprised me, so I'm hoping that the next one does too. Although I will admit, on first reading, I was like, I don't know about this, but I'm going to reserve judgment. So here we go. The preview for next episode, as sent by WOW and their PR department. It will be titled The Wow Factor. Lana Starr and the Fab Four aim to be back on top with the gold this week in Penelope Pink's main event championship match against Wild champion Abilene Maverick. Meanwhile, now that David McLane has stripped Tormenta of her championship match due to interference, Tormenta takes on Fury in singles competition. The Mother Truckers make a rap video ahead of their match with the Brat Pack. Also in action, Miami's Sweet Heat and Wild Darlings, the Mighty Mites. Okay, so, again, I do not want to give judgment here. I probably could do it out the rap video, but I will wait till I see the rap video first. Because it might be funny. I don't know. I'll say that the Brat Pack needs that win. They need to pull off a win here. I doubt that they'll do it, but they need to pull off a win. I'm not even going to bother with Miami Sweet Heat and the Mighty Mites. Sweet Heat goes over. I would be shocked and amazed if anything different happened. I don't perceive Abilene Maverick losing, although I will say that I'm interested in seeing how they deal with this, because Abilene Maverick is a heel and Penelope Pink is a heel. So I don't know where they're going to really go with that. I mean, it's not a match that either person would be rooted for by the crowd. There's no reason to root for either one of them. The match would make sense because it was Penelope Pink that was thrown off of, and Abilene Maverick basically taking advantage of the fact that Pink hit her finish on the former champion, and she scored the win off of Penelope Pink's work. So the match makes sense. I'm just wondering how they're going to set that up and how they're going to go into another heel versus heel match without not a lot of build here. And Tormenta's championship match. Now, I wasn't aware that she had a championship match. She's had several. And yes, we do remember her interfering in the match with the Beast versus Abilene Maverick, so that makes sense. But why would she have had a championship match to begin with, to have it stripped away? How she continues to get these championship matches is just mind-boggling to me. But we see David McLane has stripped her of her match, and now she's going to take on Fury instead. So I'm going to say Tormenta. Tormenta should win here. Even though Fury has made her declaration that she is the heavy metal sister and she's going after the heaviest metal of them all, which was a nice, play on words in her promo a couple of weeks back. I do not perceive Fury as coming out on top. Well, I'll put it this way. Tormenta needs to win more than Fury does. So back to the predictions, if we're going to go with that route. I'm going to say Abilene Maverick over Penelope Pink by some chicanery. I'm going to say Tormenta over Fury, or at least she should. I want the Brat Pack to win. I don't necessarily think they're going to, but I'm going to go with the Brat Pack because I want the Brat Pack to win. And Miami Sweet Heat over the Mighty Mites because I think they have already lost whatever credibility that they could have gotten. I think they've already blown that. So that seems to be where we're going with that. So that is the episode in its full review. As I said, surprising even to me, I enjoyed this episode far more than I thought I would. The only downside, and I brought part of this up at the beginning, is I do not think the quality of the episode is going to be reflective in the ratings because it was a holiday week. I mean, you might as well, because Christmas and New Year's are lumped in, pretty much together. And he had so many specials on TV, so many events going around, things like that, things to distract them. So as bad as I thought the ratings were for their WoW special, it really would not surprise me if this episode, despite all praise that I'm giving it would not surprise me if it went lower than his previous episodes leading into this. I hope it does well. I really do. I hope it does well. But it wouldn't shock me if it did. And that's the full review. That is the episode in its entirety. You've got the ratings for the WoW special. Got some wrestling news as it relates to the women. You even got a little bit of a preview for their next episode coming up, the Wow Factor, and some nice promos. And it's not even like I get the chance to say that all that much. It was nice promos from WoW. I mean, that I am crazy shocked that they were able to do that. And I genuinely hope that they're able to keep that going. So on that note, we're going to close up the show. I'm going to give you something to think on before I get to the next episode. And that's going to be this. As we walk into the beginnings of 2024, I think I'd like to add in some things and change a few things up. One of those being, I feel like I want to do a giveaway. But if I do that, I'm going to do that based on what response I'm able to muster up for a giveaway. Now, there's a couple things I was thinking about doing. T-shirts, maybe comic book based on women's wrestling that exists out there. Maybe a movie, or maybe just an overall Women's Pro Wrestling Network gift package for whatever I include within that package. So, time will tell. I will endeavor to bring this up at the beginning of the next next episode, so that I can get a better idea of whether or not this is something that should be done. So, just for those of you who've listened to this point and you're hearing me say this, keep that in mind, that perhaps we can do some giveaways here and have some nice stuff kind of sent out. So on that note, thank you for tuning in. Do all the cool things that you could do for your podcasts and YouTube channels to support them. Support your local YouTube channel. How do you do that? Like, share, and subscribe. That's always the way to go. Like, share, and subscribe is the best way to support. If you're listening to this on your podcast or whatever podcast platform that you may find it, subscribe to the feed. That helps. Just click on that feed. Make sure that you get it every time that it goes up. Then you should be able to get your version of it sent to you wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you are still, despite that, unaware of where you can find things relative to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, the WPN, you can go to WPNWrestling.com. That is WPNWrestling.com. And you can see everything focused into one location. That's our podcast. That's the 24-hour, 7-day-a-week stream of videos. A couple of blogs when I, get into the mode of writing them. A couple of pictures. Need to do some updates on there, and I think I'm going to be doing some of those throughout the year as well. So there's that. Oh, and of course, another way that you can support, if you choose to do it, is the purchase of a shirt. That's right. You can purchase a shirt. You can go down to the tab that says shop on the YouTube channel, and you can click that, and you can go right into what we have available, including a couple shirts, leggings, long sleeves, some wife beaters, even though that's probably not an appropriate term anymore. you got all of those things. I didn't even think about that until as I was saying. It's like, yeah, that's probably not the best term for that shirt anymore, but that's what it used to be referred to back in the day. So, but anyway, all of those things are there and available. And you can pick that up at any given time. Go to the Women's Pro Wrestling Network YouTube channel, click the shop button, and it will take you right there to go through and pick what you like. And I will just make one other statement, and I'll move on. If you haven't followed on Instagram, do that as well. Every once in a while on here, I'll try to do some trivia and whatnot. If you haven't gone to the community tab and answered the questions that's there, you should go there. Test your knowledge. Test your knowledge of women's wrestling. No cheating. But go there and test your knowledge of some women's wrestling and answer some of the questions. I got some more that's coming up. But go to the Instagram page, and you can follow us there. Both of those things feed off into the Facebook page. So, you're getting one, you're getting the other. And I will also say, of course, I am pretty sure that while superheroes kind of vanity search themselves from time to time, I'll say this and I'll wrap it up. When I wrote that the episode that I just reviewed was probably their best episode, I put that on the Instagram feed, and lo and behold, the Wrestling Mom popped up, and we're working hard and trying to make this thing happen, and so on and so forth, and I was like, I gotta say, I'm glad that you saw this and you wanted to comment, but I also had to tell her, look, there's a lot of times that I'm not necessarily complimentary to this. I'm being complimentary today because y'all did a good job on this episode, and not only her, but then Santana, Garrett, the All-American girls, both of them, made an appearance on that particular post. Garrett went on about talking about the talent, the production, the costume, the crew, and everybody, and that they did a great job, and that she's proud of being a part of WOW, and I'm sure she is. I'm sure both of them are. But I had to make it clear to her as well as best I could without being, mean. And I hope that level of quality and work continues going forward, and I stay tuned to what they're doing. So. Either they're vanity searching themselves or they're paying attention to what is being said. It's one or the other. We'll see what the next post gets me after I do another review, and I hope that is good and that the review isn't crap, or the episode isn't crap. That will do it. And so for myself and the Women's Pro Wrestling Network, I close in saying that this is Mr. Green saying so long, and we will see you on the next go round. Thank you for tuning in, and take care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the WPN's Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. If you have questions or comments, please contact us via our Facebook or our YouTube channel at the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. If you're new to the WPN, feel free to subscribe to our channel and like our page. We appreciate your support. Thank you again for listening.